Well, hello and welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims and Grizzly Bear Farms. I appreciate you coming back for another episode. Yeah, okay, so we are finishing up from yesterday. We have a couple of more bells to move and get stored up, and I thought I would just start this particular episode right here with this job task in so that you can kind of see this process. I will tell you that bell handling, every kind of handling in Farming Sim 17 appears to be much, much, much better than in Farm Sim 15. And you've probably heard that, you've probably read that, and who knows, you may have even read some or heard some contradiction to that claim. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, really, this type of work, bell handling, log handling, that sort of stuff, is a lot easier in 17. The dynamics, the physics, whatever else you want to call it, is much, much better in 15, or I'm sorry, in 17 than it was in 15. I've, certainly sat here and spouted off a few negatives that I think are a little bit different between 15 and 17. Like for instance, the silage stuff, and I think that while I will remain steadfast in my opinion regarding the fact that I think the whole silage process has been made more difficult in 17 than it was in 15. I will just say that I think that also probably more practice and maybe using a little bit different method, sort of as I discussed in one of my previous episodes, a recommendation by Johnny V, is to compact and compact often throughout the process of getting your silage and everything into your bunker, or your chaff into your bunker. But likewise, bell handling is certainly much, much easier in 17 than it was in 15, and you know, you can take my word for it because I tell you, I was a mess at this in I was a mess at this in 15. Now, one thing that I have learned is obviously getting camera placement a little bit better helps, but take things slow. There's no I need to scoot over just a little bit, and it's because I'm talking. I mean, I sat here and I've moved over 100 bells, and did so with relative ease, and it looked good. And thinking, gosh, I should have been recording all this. But speed, speed kills, right? You've heard that saying before. Speed kills. Um, Speed in moving bells or logs or anything else, and I've not moved any logs, so I can only just basically say that I think it probably is improved, like bell handling has been improved. But certainly with the bells, speed is your friend. Approaching things nice and slow, steady, and with patience is obviously going to work in your advantage. So one more stack of four. And of course, this is a modded bell handler, bell forks. These bell forks do have a locking script, which obviously helps immensely with what you're doing. Let's see if we can do this in cab. Um, Getting the ones up high is a little challenging in cab because it's your view is somewhat limited. But again, a locking script on these bell forks, X to lock them once you get them in. And moving four like this is a piece of cake. I mean, it's really pretty easy. And I need to come out of cab just because I'm a little bit um, perhaps OCD or whatever they call it on getting these things to look nice and pretty. And again, moving stacks of four, um, it makes it a lot easier. That represents 112 bells, my friends. 112 bell. Actually, we got 113 bells off of the three fields that we that we baled, that we harvested the wheat and baled the straw. So we got 113 bales. That represents 112. I sold the 113th bale. 13 13 is a unlucky number, right? Well, I guess for some people it might be lucky, but it's an unlucky number. So that's 112 bells. I think, um, we're not going to harvest, our barley today. Um, that may be, well, in this game day. That may be in game day 6 or so. So we will sort of take a wait and see approach as far as what we decide to do with the straw from the barley fields. Um, it's possible that, sort of depending on how much straw we go through over the next couple of days, what I plan to do is max out everything on straw, or max out all the animals on straw, and and then just kind of see how it goes. But I think 112 bells should be more than fine. So you might remember that either in last episode or maybe the episode before that, we saw a high demand, or a great demand, for corn at Mary's farm, and on additional um, additionally looking at this, and let me just pull up the HUD here. Um, I guess this is representing the great demand at Mary's Farm for corn, but it's still selling higher at Denton Bakery at 849. So, um, in 15, if I'm not mistaken, in Farm Sim 15, the great demand always was the highest price. Now I know that F in 17 things do fluctuate. The prices do fluctuate for things in 17 based on based on many factors, and I'm not really sure what all those factors are, but I've read a lot of different discussions, and a lot of it is, well, some of it is fact, a lot of it is opinion, and not that there's any problem with opinion, but you kind of have to look at everything with a grain of salt, and see how it's all going to work. So the boys have, we're just going to park here for just a moment. The boys have got everything ready, I think, with the exception of they haven't brought the semi up here. So we're going to do that for them, and we're going to obviously run the auger wagon for them. But we're going to go ahead and get them started here. And hire the worker and start this corn. All right, I wonder if that corn chop straw counts as fertilizer. I guess we'll find out whenever we get around to that point. So let's get back in our truck, our pick 'em up truck here, and we will go down and get our semi, because what we're planning to do, and of course this is a good example, and I think a good use of the auger wagon. I sort of talked about in the previous episode about, in single player, using the auger wagon is really only, um, that's really only adding, some change, or some style change to your gameplay. It's sort of a, especially if you're going to put that material into storage, it sort of defeats the purpose in a way. We'll just park our truck here in our drive, and we will get out and we'll go over and grab our semi. Um, so, clearly handling it twice is probably counterproductive. Most people would agree with that. But not a bad looking model for something that we don't really use a whole lot of. I'm sort of the opinion that I really don't care what sort of bells and whistles are incorporated into the truck. If I want to drive a truck and if I really am concerned about what it looks like and everything, then I will obviously do that in HES or ETS2. So if it lacks a few things, that's okay from me. I'm not bothered. But anyway, um, we're going to try to we're going to go direct from farm to farm to sell point here. And so we're going to use the auger wagon instead of chasing the combine through the fields in our semi and large capacity tipper. We're going to he's probably gonna freak out there. That's okay. That was kind of by design, um, in a way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the semi over here and sort of park it here, and then just we'll keep with immersion here, and we will walk over and move that, get in our Challenger, and get this guy moved out of the way so that he can do his stuff. He is at 56.2%, so we're going to need to run alongside him and empty him when he makes his turn. So I think in this, in this method, this is a correct use of it. It really doesn't matter, folks. I mean, as I have said before, how you decide to play the game is completely up to you. Don't let anyone attempt to explain to you how the game is supposed to be played. If you're looking at farm technique and how you do certain things and what tools you use to do those things, that's one thing. But even then again, if someone mods a seeder, for example, and I've certainly played on maps where the seeders, as an example of the drills, could basically drill anything, could plant anything, any of the crops that the map would support. The seeders could plant those, including potatoes, sugar beets, corn, wheat, grass. It didn't matter if the map supported it. If the map supported that fruit type, the seeder could plant it. Now, obviously, that's not realistic. Items such as corn and like sunflowers, as an example, are planted with row crop planters, which look completely different from your typical seeder that you would use to plant wheat or barley. But if you want to use that type of a seeder, sort of the all-encompassing seeder, if that's a way to describe it, then that's your prerogative. You play the game the way you want to play the game. If you want to use a like a high capacity, unrealistic capacity type mod, whether it be a tipper, a harvester. I saw a few videos back in the FS15 days where this guy had some harvesters, and those things would do about 120 from the farm to the field. Those things would haul, and that's unrealistic. But if that's what you want to do, then go for it. If that's folks, the thing about it is not everyone has the time to do every single thing the way that they may want to do it. If an individual is busy with his or her life to a point to where that they only have an hour or so a week to spend playing Farm Simulator, then it takes a long time for that person to accumulate anything in the game. It take them a long time to plant their fields, and maybe they do that on a Saturday morning when they have some time, and then they come back and harvest it a week and a half later or something. So I mean, I'm sort of fortunate because I have the time I have an understanding wife who, you know, doesn't have a problem with me spending an hour or so during the weekdays, down in my home office in my man cave, or a few hours on the weekends because typically I get up before she does anyway. I think that's just old man syndrome, right? But I wake up most times three hours or so before because my alarm clock goes off every morning, or my body alarm clock goes off every morning pretty much at the same time, and it's called my bladder. It's called my bladder screaming at me, telling me that it needs to be emptied. But again, I think that's old man syndrome. Um, but how you want to play the game is how you want to play the game, and don't let anyone you know bully you or um, try to belittle you in any such a way in the forums or anywhere else if that's the style of gameplay that you enjoy. Because again, how you play the game versus how I play the game, it doesn't really matter, because we do this for the enjoyment of things. Obviously, if you were a young person and you were thinking about getting into farming, then you might want to try to do things a little more accurately if you've got the time, just to try to learn the correct ways. Although I will tell you that maybe unlike flight sim, where I think spending many hours either flying or even performing as online air traffic control, like through the VATSIM network, while I think that will, if done right, will prepare you for a to be a pilot or to be an air traffic controller. I know of many examples of young people who started flying in flight sim or started controlling on VATSIM, who are now pilots. Maybe they are private pilots. And I have one friend that lives here locally in Colorado who I met when he was about 16 or 17 through our virtual flying club, and he is now an air traffic controller. And it was because he spent time in VATSIM and enjoyed that. So farm sim may not be the same with regards to that, just because while they call themselves a simulator, farm simulator, 15, 17, whatever, and it does a pretty darn good job of upholding that definition of simulator. There are some things that are a little bit lacking in the true definition of a simulation, but um, that's okay. We can overlook a lot. Um, we can overlook a lot with regards to that. But anyway, so yeah, so the great demand. I'm not really not sure what's gonna sort of happen with that. I don't know if I once had heard that the great demand was kind of tied to the amount of material, the amount of grains or whatever that you had on hand in your silos. We're not planning on putting any corn in our silos. We're going to basically, like I said, load it up in our semi and haul it directly to the sell point. Um, well, we will haul some of it to the sell point. We're going to put some of it in our grain silo just for animal feeding purposes, because let's see, let's go over to our animals page. I can never remember which direction to go here. So clearly, we can utilize corn for our pigs, and utilize quite a large amount of it. Um, so yeah, but I still think the pig food is fine enough. I think I may have discussed in a previous episode about how I wish that you could how I wish that you could actually mix those elements, the corn and the potatoes or the sugar beets, whichever root crop you choose to use, how you could mix those on the farm and carry that to your livestock or to your pigs versus carrying independent tippers with those amounts in it, because while it's relatively free pig food at that point, the labor and everything that's involved also has to be, has to be considered. Of course, the labor involved to move, 4 or 5 tippers, what would it be? So it would be corn, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be basically four tipper wagons. If I understand this correctly, it's basically you need corn, you either need wheat or barley, and then you need either canola, sunflowers, or soybeans, and then potatoes or sugar beets. So it's either or in these 3 lines here make up pig food. So basically, that's four trips to your pigs. Now, of course, uh, since our animals are centrally located to our farm here, it's not that big of a deal. Um, but I still think that, um, in my only experience with raising pigs, and it was just one pig that then had about, I'm trying to remember, maybe six piglets or 8 piglets. I can't remember how many she ended up having, and that was, my gosh, that was a long time ago. I was 16 or 17 years old. But on my small scale animal raising experience, that was basically, you know, all fed through bags of pig food. All right, let's see what this guy's going to do. Is he going to automatically jump over to this other field? He is. But let's just line him up. Now I don't know if that's a feature or a sort of a issue. I guess it's however you want to look at it. Um, I've noticed in 17 that whatever you're doing, whether it's your fertilizing, um, haven't necessarily seen it with seeding, because I think the seeder, at least in my experience, has noticed that he's at the end of the field. But other things that have a little bit greater working with, especially like fertilizing, they will often jump over to the next field and begin that task even without you needing to set them up to do that. So, I think he would have eventually got himself lined up, and he would have probably done probably about a half of his working width down along the left side of the field, and then got set up on full working width and would have went ahead and proceeded on. But let's say, for example, we didn't want to harvest this field, and let's say also as an example that we weren't paying that close of attention to our AI. You could come back, a few minutes later and realize that he has already started harvesting this cornfield. Of course, that you wouldn't, if he had any corn in him, if this had been canola, obviously he wouldn't have jumped over here. I don't think. I think if there would have been even the smallest amount of corn left in his hopper, he would not have started. Well, obviously you can't harvest canola with this header, but maybe sunflowers is a good example. Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of babbling here, but let's get him started, and we'll get back in our Challenger here. So the other thing that we're going to be taking advantage of today on this game day, maybe not this episode, is selling wool. We've got, if we look at our animals here, we've got, we're going to need to actually take action on this fairly quick because I think, let me just exit. Let's just run over there and see. I think we can get over there pretty quick. If we run, I think that this, yep, we will be full. We won't have any additional capacity once that has completed. Um, yeah, we'll need to get these out of here. And right now, they're selling for pretty good premium. You know, it appears, and of course, even though I've been playing this game since almost the minute that it was released for download here in the US, I have never reached a point, and see, it just fluctuated. The price just changed. But anyway, 13,602. I don't know if that's per bale or per pallet. I'm maybe assuming it's per pallet. We'll find out anyways together. But what I was going to say is that even though I've been playing this game since when it came out, there are certain things that I have yet to do because stopping and starting maps and everything the way that I've been doing with trying to get some of these other maps to work and then sort of failing miserably in achieving that goal, that things like doing chaff was the first time I've had the opportunity to really do it in 17, was when we did it a couple of episodes ago. And likewise with sheep, um, in my first Goldcrest series, when I started more or less in semi pseudo career mode, we only had like, I think, 8 sheep or maybe 10 sheep. So obviously, productivity wasn't that high. I think it only produced maybe like one bale or two of wool. So this is the first time to have that opportunity to experience what it's like to sell that. So we'll do that together. So it may not be this particular episode, but we will make it happen very soon. It will most likely be next episode because we want to take advantage of that great demand for wool um, before this day ends. So let's actually do ourselves a bit of a favor. Really had no idea how much corn we would get out of these fields, so I parked the semi down here thinking that I would at least be putting the first load in it while we were still on this field, but that wasn't the case. Not a big deal. We can move it. I opted for this particular model of semi truck versus the sleeper cab just because I think in the operations, the virtual farming operations that we're sort of depicting here with our farm, we would not have a need for a rig as expensive, as robust and everything as the sleeper rig. So if you haven't investigated this at this particular point in time, they're listed under, what are they listed under? Um, I thought they were listed under cars, but I guess they have their own category as trucks. So this is the guy that we have, the SX210 Twin Star. We're sticking with as much of an American map as possible. So this would be, our choice, or the barrel core. But again, that sleeper rig, probably wouldn't have that on our farm if we're not doing, really long distance trucking with our materials, and we're really not doing that. Now, there's some debate on whether or not the single axle or the twin axle would be represented here on American farms. I saw a YouTuber sort of arguing that point once. I don't have an issue with it. I know that, yeah, most of the trucks would be twin axle, twin rear axles, but I don't have an issue with it being not the case. All right, let's go ahead and do our first dump into this. We're going to go pipe out, and remember we've got to move the pipe once we get closer to our tipper here, and then he'll start filling. I think the rocking is probably a little bit overdone, perhaps. I would, well, the auger rocking like this would probably occur when he was emptying, but I think this thing rocks when he's just standing still, so that's got some issues there that need to be worked out. Now, as I've said before, you know, we're playing this map a little bit differently. Money, while we're trying to stick with not adding any additional money in or cheating any additional money in, and I have not done that since we began gameplay back in day one. We have a line of credit that's available that we have no outstanding balance on, so if we if we need to buy something, then we'll obviously do that through that. Obviously we're earning money each day from various things on the farm, like the windmill, which Stevie put on the map, as well as our dairy, our milk production. So by that action alone, we've actually been doing a pretty good job of keeping a day, a daily game day income coming in to the game itself. So what we make from selling the wool, as an example, or an amount of corn, clearly is just sort of extra benefit. And I think, to be honest, I thought that the yield was going to be a little bit higher on this corn. I sort of thought that we would get one full semi-tipper trailer out of it and maybe almost a second one, and I was planning on putting the second one into storage. So I think what I want to do is, again, because we've got other sources of income besides our materials that we're making on the farm. In other words, our wheat and whatnot. So I think what I'm going to do is, as soon as I get this, come on, I'm driving like an old lady. No disrespect to old ladies driving. I think what I want to do is I'm going to fold this guy up, and let's go ahead and move the harvester out of the field. And then we'll empty the auger wagon into the semi, kind of see what our total is, and we may first go ahead and top up the pigs with corn, and we'll just pull him out in the middle of the yard here. I like this really big open space, and if I'm not mistaken, the change, one of the changes that Stevie made in this map. See, remember I'm running 1.0.0.4 of his map, which was the latest and greatest prior to the Giants 1.3.1 release of 17. Stevie now has version 1.0.0.5 that's available, and one of the differences between the .5 and the .4 version, which I'm running is the .4 version, is the fact that he put a large shed, large barn in the middle of that open space there where I've been parking rigs and everything. So I like that open space because it sort of allows me to stage vehicles there. It allows me to bring vehicles in and drop them there, and sort of through the storyline, through the gameplay, then the boys would take those rigs and wash them up, refuel them, whatever would need to be, and then either park them or get them ready for the next for their next use. So as I said yesterday, I think that unless it was something earth-shattering, I wasn't planning on going to the .5 release of Stevie's map. I'm going to stay on .4 for now anyways, because I think this is the third video I've made maybe since the new version of 17 came out, or the updated version of 17 came out, and I've not found any problems. So alright, and we will just again park this out here. It's just a nice open area to maneuver vehicles and everything around. So 6. Okay, so 55,128 liters of corn. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I do not have any other fields planted in corn. Nope, nothing that we own anyways. I did not buy field 5. That's just too big of a field, I think. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take this load and carefully drive over here. Oh, that's actually our sheep, isn't it? Wrong animal, Jerry. We will cover. Let's just haul this up to our sheep. I'm sorry, our pigs. Wrong darn animals. And top them up on corn, because that's the lowest category of food that they're on, or that they require. And so we'll just kind of go the long way. Is this the way to our pigs? Let me just double check. Yep, it is. Nothing coming. We stop at all railroad crossings. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's see. Tip side back, tip side grain door. That's what we want. And I for unload. And let's just kind of see how that goes there with our grains. And it's filling up. And that's 25,000 liters of corn. And let's just stick with our original plan of storing most of these grains for our own use instead of sending this 30,000 liters to either Denton Bakery or Mary's Farm. We're doing quite well with the daily income, and we really don't have anything else that we really need to buy. Well, with the exception of greenhouses. We're going to set up some greenhouses so that we've got income, a little more income coming in the winter months when obviously we're not selling as much of our crop. We will sell, I think we will end up selling some of our wheat and barley and canola and sunflowers, and what else do we have? Soybeans. We've got lots of soybeans planted, and I think we will end up selling a lot of that, but I think for now we're going to just put this corn in storage. Since corn is the single item in that pig food category, if I do somewhat change my mind about trying to feed the pigs via our own grown crops, then obviously, because there's no either or with corn, that's the only item from that category, and it represents probably the greatest percentage. Well, let's see if we can verify that. Yeah, so it represents the greatest percentage of what is considered to be the complete pig food cycle. It requires 50% of that, so I think we're doing the right thing by storing this versus selling it, because the other items, wheat or barley, because we have, I don't know, we have like 100, how much wheat do we have? Yeah, we have 111,000 liters of wheat. I don't know how much barley we'll get from the yields, but you know, I'm sort of guessing that we'll get similar to that. And so yeah, that'll leave us plenty of stuff to sell should we want to do that. You know, and we do want to support our the local businesses. That's sort of that has been sort of our mission, our goal. with our story, with our virtual story. As you know, we bought the farm from Mr. Richards, and his only wish was to keep his employees working, and we've been able to do that. And of course, he also wanted us to continue to support the local community, and of course, we've done that through helping out the other farmers, as well as we'll be meeting that goal by selling goods and stuff to them. And we'll go ahead and cover, and we'll just kind of take this steep approach into this parking area over here. All right. Let's go ahead and we've got about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. And let's go over here and we'll run up the hill and we'll grab our telehandler, and we will we'll at least start loading up the wool. Yeah, just checking. I haven't encountered a huge hit with regards to frame rates after stacking all of that straw over there. That's 100 and what did I say? 112 bales, I think. So, if we put about the same amount of grass, actually, for the equation to work out, we need more grass than we need hay, or sorry, straw. I know the difference between those two, but I interchange them in my head probably more than I should. So we've got a set of bell forks here. We can just grab these. Because if our mixture is one straw, so basically 4,000 liters of straw, 4,000 liters of silage, then 8,000 liters of hay or grass, which in our case will be hay. Now we could always do 4,000 liters of straw, 4,000 liters of hay, and 8,000 liters of silage. It sort of depends. I mean, obviously we've got a lot of silage, but we also, I think we will also have a lot of grass as well, because and I'm just gonna skip down to one of these tractors here. I think we will also have a lot of hay, a lot of grass and hay, because obviously we've got that huge field that we're going to cut. We'll back up to this guy here. And while we're not going to use the auto loading feature to load, we will use the auto unloading feature to unload, and more or less say that that's the buyer unloading the Alright, try to do a little bit of this in cab. See if I can. And again, I think the key is speed. I think the key is, taking it slow, being patient with it, and not getting into a big rush. I think sort of um, understanding that you can't do all tasks on the farm sort of at the same pace will help you out in doing these kind of tasks like bale handling, pallet handling, etc. I think approaching pallet handling or bale handling or log handling or whatever with the mentality that, well, I can just whiz through that just like I can at, baling or seeding or anything like that, I think is a recipe for disaster for you. Alright, not too bad. Let's see if I can do this in cab again. In a past life, not really, but in a job that I did many years ago before I got into IT, I actually operated a forklift, and I will tell you that operating a forklift in real life is, other than the dangers obviously associated with operating a forklift, either running somebody over or accidentally, if you're lifting something up from a high location, clearly those dangers are serious. But from just the ease of use of driving a forklift, especially once you get used to it, is much easier in real life than it is in the game, because let's see if I can make that go. Because in real life you have better, I think you have better depth perception. And obviously you also, in some cases, you have spotters and you have things that will help you see the stuff that you can't necessarily see that easily. Whoops, don't bounce off, don't bounce off. Looks like the pallets are actually, the forks are underneath, and now we've got a hold of that other one. Let's just, let's zoom out here. Let's put it on the ground. Okay, we're gonna cheat just a little bit here. wrong vehicle. Alright, we had to cheat just a little bit because not our fault that the pallet went. I don't think we picked it up with the pallet forks underneath the pallet. I think that when we had that shimmer and shake from trying to unload it the first time, I think that's when when the pallet jumped up above the pallet jumped above the forks. All right. So that, well, you may have saw that. That, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, who is Reefy 1952, I saw that method, and that's the bipolar profit method of bell handling. If you have a trailer that has auto loading script, and auto loading functionality is now available for 17 with the Joskin trailer and probably a few others by now. If you turn that feature on, so we've got the Fent there running, and the auto loading feature was turned on to get that one pallet off. If you have that turned on, and basically you're moving bells or you're moving pallets or whatever the case might be, you can, if you pick them up and then move them over, once you get close enough to the trailer, then it will basically pull that off of your forks for you. So that's one method. If you're a little uneasy or a little sloppy with bell handling, the bipolar profit method of bell handling is now working the same as it did in 15, now in 17. So that's actually kind of cool. So let me just check one thing here, because I think we were, let me go back over to our animals. I always go the wrong direction. So let's see. I would expect that at some point today we'll get another wool bell. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to wait and haul this when we have 6 bells. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to leave the Fent. We'll jump out and go turn it off. We're going to leave the Fent down here, at least for now. And then guess what? We are at our 1 hour mark. And so we're going to basically call this a wrap. We're going to wrap this episode up. We will wait until we have the 6th bell, if that is going to produce itself. It would be nice if this screen actually showed how many bells it was. Hopefully I didn't take a partial, pick up a partial bell. I'm not sure if you see. Let's go over here and click this question mark and get it off the screen here. Yeah. So maybe there wasn't 6 bells. Anyway, we'll know soon enough whenever it resets itself here in 5 or 10 minutes of the game. We'll know whether or not we have a 6th bell. So if we do and it appears, we'll take 6 down to the sell point. If not, we will take the 5 down and take advantage of that great demand. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming back each and every time to watch my farm sim videos. If there's something if you have a question, please post them in the notes, and please like and please subscribe if you are not already doing so. That way you'll be notified when new videos appear. And from Goldcrest Valley, this is Stevie's edit of Goldcrest Valley. I would just like to say thank you for watching, and have a wonderful and very blessed day. Take care now. Bye-bye.